Hello, salud. I am the Rasta Witch. Here's where we learn the way of the Yansway Rasta, which is to say, my kind of Ital. Please subscribe and begin your own kind of Yansway witchcraft. All roads lead to Rome. Home. Okay, one of the most misunderstood cards, along with the Death card, in the tarot deck. Today we will look at the Devil card. Roman numeral 15. This card is likely the most famous card in the deck, but this is usually to demonize the deck. But what does it really mean? In ancient times, they often used threatening beasts as symbols for powerful forces in life, like the lion for strength. This card uses the symbol of a goat, also a powerful animal. Like the X-Men's Juggernaut, the Ram Goat, Billy Goat can be quite a force. But this figure on the card is a faun, half human, half goat. This is for two more reasons. One, the astrological signature of this card is Capricorn, whose corresponding animal is the goat, and because the mythology of the devil comes from the Greek mythology of the god named Pan. Pan is god of the wild, shepherds and flocks, rustic music and impromptus, and the companion of the nymphs. He often plays the reed flute as the god of rustic music. Pan was a faun, half man, half god, or half man, half goat. And knowing this, that this card is based on Pan, makes it easy to see the positive aspects of the card. Besides the story we have all heard, Peter Pan, because the story we've all heard, Peter Pan, is also based on Pan. Peter, as the rock, was the central character. He had to do with shadow, and we all know about the story because we've seen the movie Peter Pan, that he could fly, Both shadow and the astral travel correspond to purple, number 9, Yesod. He was all about childish imagination, remember? This card helps us break old patterns, letting go of cares and worries to be more playful. Playfulness, frivolity, make-believe, getting loose, lightening up. The way you feel when the alcohol buzz first hits you at a party and you really start to party. But this card is also connected to Apophis, which is the Greek way to say Apep. Apophis was perhaps the only Egyptian god to be all-powerful, with an army of demons at his disposal. He was not worshipped, but rather he was feared. They believed no matter how many times he was challenged, he could never be entirely vanquished. He was their idea of evil, called Isfet. Another influence was the Hebrew idea of Satan, which was influenced by Zoroastrianism and the Zoroastrian spirit of evil, darkness, and ignorance, Angra Mainyu. Christianity mixes the idea of Satan with the fallen angel of Lucifer in the War in Heaven. The famous angels Michael and Lucifer were arguing, eventually turning into war. Michael believed in free agency. Lucifer wanted a theocratic authoritarian rule. Lucifer was so worried about people making bad choices that he lost the battle and fell from heaven, taking his loyalists with him. Today his followers are the evil demons. This all likely came from the Apophis mythology. One more is the Lord of the Flies, which is the meaning of Beelzebub. Maybe you have seen the movie Lord of the Flies or Pan's Labyrinth. Anyway, much baggage and attached myths have been heaped upon this card. I will link a playlist on heaven and hell in the description on Satan and stuff. But what does this card really mean? To answer this, we must think of its astrological signature, Capricorn. What is a Capricorn? Capricorn is an earth sign, the sea goat. Ruling planet is Saturn, so they are the earth side of Saturn. Capricorns are overachievers, persistent like goats. They are practical and sensitive. They make success look effortless, even though they put a lot of time and care into their career and relationships. Let's look at the famous painting called A Diabrie. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Here we see the power of the bar. Here we see the owner of the bar is a goat man. Everyone is partying and his employees are hard at work. The place is decorated with bones of dead people. And when you look closer, the guests are dark creatures. What kind of place is this? And sitting back, enjoying his meal, content with it all, is the owner, the goat man. Like I said, Capricorn is an earth sign. Earth signs are good at money matters. Earth signs are also sensitive, caring, and practical, like we see with coins in the minor arcana. This card is related to our view of the world and its resources. Remember, native and nomadic peoples have never sought to own Earth's resources, putting them at their disposal. It was once believed that everything earthly was fallen and corrupted. It seems sad to think of our world that way. You know what we need? A little of the optimism we get from pixie dust. We can fly, we can fly, we can fly. Let's look at the Rider-Waite deck. The most famous picture in the deck. We can see there we got the fawn, the half goat, half human. We've got the upside down pentagram up there. Of course, the pentagram, it's upside down because it looks like a goat that way for Capricorn. But that's not always true. Actually, I'll go over the pentagram a little bit closer in a second. But let's just, the main thing we want to look at, something very important in understanding this card, is so we have the devil figure, which we just talked about, but attached to the devil, chained to the devil, is a naked man and woman. And if you look, the chain isn't real tight around their necks. They could wiggle out of that if they wanted to, but that's because it's the main meaning of this card is addictions, is that, because an addiction is something that you could get out of, but it holds you back. In fact, the corresponding Hebrew character for this card is ayin, meaning eyes. See how it's like those things on top are eyeballs. If you rip the eyes out, there's cords attached to the eyes. That's what I think it is. I read that somewhere once, but I'm not sure. But it means eyes. So let's look at this deck a little closer. Do you see? You see how there's the third eye there? And if you look at the Thoth deck, the goat has a third eye right there. So it's because it's kind of, the devil's like the other side of the story, thou shalt not kill. The other side of that's like, to the devil, that's like saying thou shalt kill, So no matter how, it's not like the idea that the devil's this person that you need to be scared of and you need to watch what you do because you'll invite the devil in. That's false. The devil is one of the cards in the Sephiroth. It's one of the cards in the tarot deck. It's part of you. The devil's inside, like the NXS song, Devil Inside, Devil Inside. Everything, single one of us have the devil inside. The devil's inside. It's part of you, So no matter how enlightened you are, no matter where you are, there's always going to be a devil side to everything. Let's look a little closer at the Thoth deck. Here, it's got below the devil, instead of 2 humans chained to the devil, it's got 2 balls, and they represent people in various types of sin, various types of addiction type problems, because it groups that way according to the philosophy of this card, and saying the devil's overlooking them, with the third eye there, and then shooting up to the tree, that the Sephiroth, the tree of the Sephiroth. You can see this card is mostly about addiction. Food addiction, sex addiction, crystal meth, cigarettes, lying, laziness, working too hard, any addiction that has you chained to the devil. Tarot decks can differ on how much of the mythology of the Greek god Pan they use, and ultimately anyone can take from any of the mythologies anywhere, as they all have an evil figure, I recommend always remembering, just like someone isn't a bad person for being a Capricorn, neither is this card always assumed with a bad meaning. When you have befriended your fears and limitations, when you know your shadow self, you'll be free to take off the chains that have held you back. Don't be afraid of your shadow, like in Peter Pan. Think about your relationship to your possessions. How much time and energy do you expend on what you own? If it's too much, they have you at the end of chains. But having possessions doesn't make you evil. The possessions themselves aren't evil. If you transcend ego, really getting to know who you are and what the bigger picture is, then they become assets, don't they? This card can also mean you have been caught up in a situation that brings little joy, yet the way out lies in your own hands. Remember, the chains are really kind of loose around them. Though you are unable to see it, the escape route is in your own hands. The devil's inside. You feel trapped and miserable, or it might mean you feel trapped and miserable, or it might mean you need to ask, what has enslaved you? Another person, your own fears, money, your career? Like Bob Marley sings, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. No one but yourself can free your mind. Bob Marley's most famous song, he's actually quoting Marcus Garvey. One more thing, the upside down pentagram, I said I'd mention that, can mean Satanism, like we all know. And it would because it looks like a goat, but good witches can also use it in shadow work or in exploring a past life. You'll just have to read a book on it. So that also can't be assumed to be bad, It's all just how you use it, If any of these things are bad, being aware of evil, being aware of what can happen, being aware of being addicted and escaping from it, that's the good side, By being aware of your shadow and being aware of these things, you have the power to escape it, and that's why it's good, So let's look at the chart. The devil is right here. His pathway connects number 6, the self, with number 8, Chod, which is intellectuality and thinking. So he connects you to your thinking. What does a person know after all, if they know nothing beyond ego? Worship the gods if you must, but first know thyself. The addiction of overthinking can keep you from more effective thinking and knowledge. See my video on the temperance card. Peace.